I'll deliver a speech. A customary Sunday sermon. Yeah, a few people asked me stuff after I petitioned for questions. um, First one was about what's the difference slash line between analysis and contemplation, kind of on the spiritual path. So, what I think about this is that, contemplation has to lead somewhere. It has to have a result. And also contemplation is awareness based. It's not concept based, right? Like analysis kind of it remains within the world of thinking, the world of concepts, and it never really escapes that world. Whereas what we call contemplation, it's more like when your awareness, which is also intelligence. Awareness is also intelligence. There's no difference there. Pure intelligence. It's when your awareness meets a situation or a problem. It can also be active verbal contemplation if you got, question and answer with a master or something. You ask a random question, that they haven't heard before. Then what that master, let's say, delivers will be like an active verbalized contemplation, because if we're talking about real masters here, real sages, they're not delivering pre-packaged teachings, pre-constructed teachings or sayings or slogans or this kind of thing. I mean, they may come back to, they may have, if you look overall, they may have their core things that they come back and say. This is usually the case. But in each moment, in each unique scenario, they'll deliver also something which is unique and is kind of tailored to the question what's been asked of them, who's asking the question, who else is in the room, and this kind of stuff. So that's contemplation. A problem is given in the form of a question, and as you've probably seen with, masters like, Monji or whatever, when he's asked a question, he doesn't sit and think about it. Question comes and an answer is delivered like that. So you can't say this is a product of analysis. In this case is on the highest level. This we're talking of contemplation, of a being who's fully established in awareness. The problem is put before an awareness and an instant solution is given. But it has a result. Like in that moment for that master, what he's saying, it comes out, it's delivered to that person, it has an effect or it doesn't have an effect, and that's done then. That person won't go off and start, thinking about it again and this kind of thing. So contemplation in our own practice has to have some kind of result. I mean, for me, you don't need to actively think to contemplate. For me, the path, it was always I was trying to be in silence, be in stillness, be in beingness. And then in that, just insights would emerge, realizations would emerge. Because it's kind of like when it's, as you're going more and more into that, whatever you want to call it, mindfulness, awareness, witnesshood, observation, silence, the more you go into that, the more you see the mechanism of how things work, everything, how things work, how your own patterns have worked from, being born until now, how your own patterns have developed, how your own patterns have been operating. This all you begin to see. Even it takes a little bit more awareness to say, oh, look, I notice I have a pattern, rather than just saying, I don't have any patterns, it's all other people's fault. Some people are like this, we know. They think they're fine and everything is everybody else's fault. So even it takes a bit more awareness. It's not level of liberated yet, but to say, oh yes, I am creating over and over again situations in my life, suffering situations based on these patterns that I've got. So that would be a contemplation. You could just be sitting there and you see, this is how this pattern operates. And then once you've got that, you can then see, oh look, the same thing is operating in this person, same thing is operating in that person. Same thing as operating on a kind of macrocosmic level, you know, in the whole world. I mean, these things, things that are small patterns also exist within groups of people, and lead to, mass atrocities and all these kind of things, mass, phenomena. Um, so this for me is how contemplation is going, and for me, analysis it doesn't have a concrete result. This path has to be extremely practical. So I come back to this quote I love from J. Krishnamurti when he said, someone asked him about meditation, and he said, if you, something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing, if you think meditation is different or something that is not there, or, kind of present in your mundane, daily, boring, nonsensical activities, then it has no meaning. So if meditation is not there in each thing that you're doing, each interaction that you're having, everything, then it's just an idea. You just created yourself a way to escape from all of that. So, whether it's analysis or contemplation, it has to have a result. Like I've given with the example a minute ago, you ask a master a question, he's using he's expressing himself through concepts, he's expressing himself through language, and it's having a result. It's having a result on the people that hear these things. So contemplation for you has to be like that. It has to be like, with your awareness, with your observation, you are able to see something, probably about yourself, probably about your own patterns, probably about the way that you've been functioning. You're able to see something, and then seeing that thing has a direct result in your life. And not after a week, not after a month, not after years. Like in that moment, it has a kind of impact. I spoke about before, when I had this realization, when I was first kind of getting going on this path, I was painting this shed of one relative of mine, and I thought, let me just do this. I've got nothing to think about. Everything is fine. Let me do this and just enjoy. Let me not think about anything. Let me just totally be there in the sun, sunbathing at the same time, which is rare for England. But yeah, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't stop this constant flow of thinking, and contemplation. I had a realization then that I can't stop this. And then from that point, I would have these naturally. I'd have these micro moments of just waking up of, oh, I'm lost. I'm totally lost in thinking again. Where am I? And from that point, I'd start just having this spontaneous, not waking up as like, oh, I'm the self, but waking up as, oh, I was completely lost in thought again. And it goes on, it comes back, more train of thought comes, and you wake up again. And this is how the path is going. Gradually, you have to break up. You have to break up this continuity of constant thinking, based on, me, myself, and I, and how me, myself, and I is related to others. So for me, that's the answer. That's the difference here. I mean, contemplation has to have a direct result, and also when it's contemplation, you don't need to check it with anybody. You don't need to check it against any books. You don't need to go and talk to your guru and say, "Oh, is this true?" Because when it's contemplation, it's something which has come from your own awareness, the intelligence of your own awareness. And in that moment, it's been meaningful for you. You can see, this is about my pattern. This is how I can get beyond it. So You can't argue with this. This is why I say people post all quotes of masters and this and that. Yeah, fine, they've said that, but that's an individual who's lived their own life, right? And all the real masters all have their own original things to say. They're not copies of each other. So what have you got to say? If you're really walking this path, you have to have something to say about what you've been doing, about what you've been realizing about yourself. You know, how your own path, if you can't do this, you haven't done anything, just only dreaming. From the very beginning, I was having this realizations. Oh, this is how, look, this is how my mind's going like this. That is the path. And as soon as you have that, a realization like that, which is based on contemplation, that's based on your own experience, you can talk about that thing and it comes across as real and it comes across as genuine. All I'm doing in these talks is talking about my own experience of life, basically. This is not teachings. I mean, I jokingly call it sermon as a joke, but it's not teaching. This is just my own opinions about life that I've got through living day in and day out. That's it. Take it or leave it. So anyone who's really walking on this path should have this, not just, oh, he said this, he said that. Because you will notice when people speak like this, it hasn't got that juice. It hasn't got that power to it. But you can listen to somebody, they may not be enlightened or whatever, but if you listen to someone really speak honestly about their own experience, something that they've really gone over in life, something that they've really gone through, it has that juice to it. It has that kind of nectar to it. So I would, any day of the week, I'd prefer to listen to completely ignorant person talk about that kind of stuff fully from the heart, from their own experience, their own life experience, rather than someone preaching what somebody else has said, parroting what somebody else has said, because it's boring and it gives the whole spiritual thing a bad name. You know, because even other people hear this and they can hear that, oh, it's just preachy. Why is he trying to enforce this on me? Why is he trying to tell me this? Why is he trying to convert me? Why is he trying to sermonize me? People don't respond to this. It's like trying to going up to someone in the street and telling them, oh, look, this is how great I am. Do you want to do you want to be in a relationship with me? This is how great I am. Do you want to marry me? Right? If you're great, if you've got something, then it's that thing speaks through what you do, through what you are, right? One of my first realizations, contemplative realization, we sometimes used to have when I was a kid, all this Jehovah's Witnesses and stuff going around here. I've said this loads of times, but same thing. You know, if you've got something, you know, if there's something to what you're doing, if there's something to what you're selling, if there's something to what you're preaching, then that thing has to speak, and that thing has to make me say, "Oh yeah, I want to do what this person's doing." So it's like that. Anyway, that's my answer to that question. And the other question I got was about letting go of the past, how to let go, how to let go of the past experiences. So this relates a bit to what I was kind of talking about last week, I think, about this residue, the fact that certain experiences leave a residue within us. So when we talk about letting go of things in the past, we're not talking about letting go of irrelevant things that happen to us, because, you know, certain things, you know, leave no stain upon us. I ate some piece of cake 10 years ago. It was kind of, wasn't great, but this stuff doesn't leave any residue in us. So when we talk about the past, we're talking about experiences that have left some kind of imprint within us. So that's what we're talking about letting go of. And The paradoxical thing is that in order to let go of these things, you have to be totally at peace with them. You can't turn away from these things. So if something that like this from the past comes up, or something that reminds you of it comes up, you can't do this action of pushing it away or thinking I don't want to look at it or turning away from it, because that it will just stick at you. It will just stick to you more and more and more if you do this. Simply what we have to do is we have to come to terms with the things in the past, and we have to allow these things from the past come into our awareness, which they will automatically come into our awareness, and we should see them with total just clarity, not with any story, you know, not through any different kind of colored glasses, colored lenses. Just seeing this is what happened, this is how I felt at the time, this is how I continue to feel now because of this thing. And we just have to be able to allow that to happen without doing anything about it. Let it come, don't push it away. Don't go into it in the mode of analysis, trying to break it down, trying to make new ideas, opinions about it, whatever. Just come, see it, and be there with it. For really harsh things from the past, trauma and all stuff like that, you can't just do this process walking around in the world and going to the office and stuff. Time has to be there. You go, you sit, or you lie on the bed, you let this thing come up, and you just feel it. You let it come up, you just feel it. You feel everything which is a part of it, all the emotions that are a part of it, all of the feelings that are a part of it. You feel the way it makes your body feel. And you just watch it, you just welcome it. See, already from this question, there's a feeling, I want to get rid of the past. I want to push the past away. Fair enough, but that that won't help you accomplish it. The attitude to actually make this work is actually, I have to let the past in fully. I have to feel the past fully. Because if something from the past is still there, it means that it's not been digested yet. Digested means that something no longer sticks to your consciousness. When people really get going on this path, or like sages or whatever, eventually all their experiences are like this. Whatever can happen to them and nothing sticks. But as we go along the path, and when we walk and when we look back to the past, we have to go and we have to allow these things to come up. And we have to do this process of welcoming these things into our consciousness, not having an opinion about them, not suddenly saying, oh, what happened was brilliant, or how I acted was brilliant, or how this person acted was brilliant. No idea about it at all. Having all this opinion, oh, that was good, that was bad, that just keeps it going, keeps feeding the fire. You have to come up, welcome it, feel it, and keep doing this for as long as it takes. For really intense things, like I said, you can't just do this walking around. You have to make time for this to happen. So this is actually what meditation should be before we actually reach the stage where we're actually in silence, actually in samadhi, equalized consciousness. It should be this: going, sitting, whatever, and not expecting to be in silence, not expecting to be in bliss, but expecting all of this shit, all of this garbage to come to the surface, and for you to know, I'm going to take this approach with it. I'm going to welcome it, and I'm going to allow my consciousness to digest it. And that should be the practice. That should be, and we do that until it's all clean. And more and more we do it, as our consciousness starts cleaning itself out, then we get little glimpses of bliss, of silence, of peace. And as we start getting those glimpses, even deeper stuff comes up, if it's there. You know, this is a mechanism built into consciousness. When you can handle more, more will come up if it's there. But then you've got the strength to deal with it. You've got more equanimity to deal with it. And this is the path. This is the path. It just goes on and on and on and on and on like that. And then new experiences come. And these new experiences, you know, everything which is happening right now present has got some seed in the past. So if there's something that we want to let go of in the past, I guarantee something which is connected to that, some pattern that is connected with that is still present now. If it's still present now, it means experiences will still be generated that may have that flavor of that thing in the past. But again, if we're doing this job of really digesting these things from the past, then when similar experiences arise in the present, we know we deal with them better. We deal with them, you know, with more wisdom, less fear, and all this kind of things. So gradually we do this and we start to build up this different kind of momentum of acceptance, of allowing things to come up and digest. And as we do this, we more and more come to terms with the past. We get better at dealing with systems, situations in the present, and the consciousness starts lightening. This, in a nutshell, is the path. It's not pretty, you know, it's ugly, it's gruesome, it's messy, but this is the path. Despite, again, whatever, oh, I'm following this guru, I'm following this path, I'm doing this practice, yeah, fine, but this is what's actually got to happen, you know, within us, whether we like it or not. However we support it, okay, I support it with this guru, I support it by listening to this person, reading this person's messages, doing this practice, doing this breathing exercise, fine, you do all these things, but this is the thing which has to happen, this lightening of consciousness, this making peace with things of the past, you know, seeing these patterns, you know, being able to observe, being able to welcome these things in our consciousness, being able to accept everything that's happened. All of these things are hallmarks of the real path. So that's how it's done. I'm not saying this as a theory. This is how I've done. This is how I've walked the path. You know, when I had that big awakening around time of what, probably around 10 years ago now, or something like this kind of Kundalini explosion. I woke up that morning and had like 3 or 4 past, you know, bad sins, if you can call it like that, came to my mind. Before that, they were completely forgotten, buried. With this activation of consciousness, they came up and they were hard to look at. Guilt came, oh, guilt. How, you know, this is very bad, I have to confess, and all this kind of things. And what happened? I just had to do these things. I just had to allow these things to come up and just look at them and say, this is what it was. This is what happened. And that's it. And you just have to make peace with those things. But you can't get rid of the past by trying to push it away, because that just affirms the strength of it. It just affirms that these things are relevant in that way. You have to accept these things, welcome these things in, and eventually they get exhausted. And when to know that something is getting exhausted, you can see by if this thing comes up, it comes into the mind, or you bring it into the mind, you feel less emotional charge with it, less response from your body, less response from your nervous system. And again, that's not to be confused with people who push all of these things down. No, you have to feel these things fully, every emotion, every sensation, and know, you know, like people do denial. They push these things away, say it didn't happen, or say it didn't happen like that, it happened like this. None of this rubbish. Fully seeing it, fully feeling it, these things, because this path is not just pushing it down and becoming some emotionally numb being. It's not that. That's what happens when all of this stuff is just pushed away. And what happens to people that do that? They become incredibly stiff. Incredibly stiff. You can see it even from the way they walk, the way they move, the way they interact, all of this stiffness you can see. Very cautious, you know, around people, very cautious to give, very cautious to receive, very cautious to express fully, cautious to express joy, cautious to express anger. All this it all comes from this repressed stuff. Whereas someone who's gone through this, opened all this stuff, they're extremely loose, extremely fluid, capable of receiving love, capable of giving love, also capable of standing up for themselves, also capable of, maybe having an argument, full range of expression they have. And this full range of expression is their way of keeping themselves empty. Like I said last week when someone asked me about this, being a doormat and stuff like this. In order to not be a doormat, we have to be able to have these moments where we're assertive, we assert ourselves, or we have some conflict, or something like that, or we disagree. Because what that does is when something comes up, that tries to stick to us, some negativity or some reaction, we instantly get it out. We do the needful with it, and then it's gone. It's not there. We go to the next moment. So that's a habit of someone who's able to stay internally empty, is that they're capable of being fluid like this. And such people don't hold anything. If they've got something to say to someone, something to express to someone, they don't hold it in. They get it out of the way, finished, and then they go back to being empty. And in that emptiness, they go in that emptiness, something comes again, they express it. Same with life. They can be in empty, they can be in a static, boring routine, but then something happens, some destiny shifts or changes. Okay, the path is now going here. This is where the magnetic pull is, and then they go there. So this is one of the characteristics of someone who's done this kind of work on themselves, that they're very flexible, very fluid in expression and all these kind of things. But you can't get rid of the past. You have to welcome it into yourself, face it to such an extent that you can totally bring it up, feel it, and yet you're totally at peace with it. And then there'll be no reaction whatsoever. It'll be like going from a color movie to a black and white movie. It'll be like it's almost somebody else's experience, right? And as we do that, we get lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter, because all of these things, if you've got something where you go into the past and you see all this, all of those things which give you a little discomfort or make you uncomfortable or make you a bit tight, all of these things are the things that contribute to this ambient feeling of heaviness that a lot of people have. And that ambient feeling of heaviness is what stops them from really experiencing life in its full potential. Because that heaviness either leads to, if you want to speak in this terminology of these qualities, gunas, it either leads to rajasic activity, hyper doing activity, which would be like, hyper thinking, hyper action. So you're filling everything with that movement, or it leads to kind of tamasic activity, which is kind of dull, inert, not doing anything, but kind of, bogged down, and you just dull your consciousness. You dull it with whatever, food, drugs, whatever, entertainment, all these things. So you can go in either of these ways, this heaviness. But in order to get to that stage of purity, in order to get to that stage of sattva, we have to start emptying these things out. And the emptying things out, you can't throw them out, right? It would be nice, wouldn't it? Like, we've got this big sack of rubbish, rotting filth. It would be nice just to throw it out and say, okay, I don't have to think about it again. I don't have to know what's in here. But the brutal reality on this path is that we have to open up this bag and we have to take each thing out, each of these filthy objects out, look at it, inspect it, get to know it, and say, okay, you are a part of me, right? When that thing is fully accepted, then it loses its charge, it loses its power, and then we become light. So that's how it is. That's how we let go of the past. Same thing goes for, experiences can happen in day-to-day lives that leave a little, tightness with us, leave a little residue. Same process. Just repeat the same process, and it's painful. It can feel on this path like we're going kind of two step forwards or one step forwards, two steps back. Because when these things come up, they can be so fierce and so painful and so stinging. But they're like that maybe because we never allowed ourselves to feel these things before. I had all of these things. I had all of these waves coming to me. And there was nothing that I could do with them but just to sit and allow them to be there. I had some kind of it was some kind of little resentment. It kept coming, 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 coming. I remember when it would come, I'd feel my whole being just knot up in a contraction. Then it'd release again. And when it would release again, I'd feel like in total bliss. I don't know if anyone's had these episodes of food poisoning where they're vomiting all the time, but once you kind of vomit that thing out, you have that moment of, oh, it's done, bliss, release. And then it comes back again, this nausea and all these things. And then once it's finally, fully expunged, if you like, then there's complete release. But then you get used to that and you kind of take it for granted. But yeah, this is the path. It is this constant churning, expunging of the contents of consciousness. And yeah, it's there to do. This is a part of the um, healing path, and some people have, a lot of people have very, 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 very traumatic experiences that are very difficult to let go of, and these things take work, sitting down, allowing these things to come, and that's just how it's done. But if we think spirituality is somehow about bypassing these things or walking around these things or forgetting about these things, then we're deluding ourselves. Spirituality is we go through these things because the spirituality, that soul is who we are. It's only these things that are covering it. So these things, actually, this past, this whatever comes up which makes us tight or contracted or whatever, these are the keys. Actually, we should get into a mode where we're grateful. Oh yeah, look, this has come up. Look how painful it is. Yeah, but it means you're being given the key there. If you know how to work with it, and if you start getting used to this practice of allowing these things to come up, fully feel them, start letting them go, then you'll be grateful. It's like, great, something else has come up now. I can let go of it. Um, so so yeah, it can be done. I was watching some podcast a while ago about one woman who'd experienced terrible um, trafficking as a child sex trafficking, all of this kind of stuff from very, very young age. Terrible experiences, unimaginable for most people. And this lady was talking about the same process, actually, that she couldn't get through all these things and learn to live by pushing these. She had to allow all of these things to come up and fully accept them, feel them. This happened, this is how I felt. And that's the only way. If we have those kind of experiences, if we don't have those kind of experiences, then either way we should, however we are, we should be grateful that we don't have even more. Because such things people go through in these in this world, in these times, it's unimaginable. So yeah, be grateful. Path is there. We're hearing about these things. Path is given to us if we want to walk it. Masters always make this path available to people. For people who really, really, really want to walk this path, whatever you want to call it, masters, tradition, consciousness, they'll give everything, you know, in order for people to walk this path. Not people who just say they want to do, but people who are really willing to do it. Tradition will give all support, everything. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Hope this was helpful. And yeah.